So let me ask you guys, what's your idea of communication? What is that to you? What's your definition?
Well,
Well,
well, I'm sorry.
no, you can go.
Okay. My definition is of communication is basically responding instead of reacting to someone from I've read a few books on communication this year, so
Okay.
I think it's more so about listening and and trying to solve the problem, whatever problem is ahead, addressing the elephant in the room, things of that nature. And being upfront and being honest. All that is communication.
Integrity.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
Naomi.
when you said it, the first thing that came to mind for me was two-way street. So while active listening and listening is important, it's equally important to be able to effectively articulate your message thoroughly, to convey your message in a way. Um, yeah, like that's the surface level. I'm like, you talk about effective communication, like, it goes some layers down, but just communication
Right.
in and of itself, I think, is just the ability to effectively articulate your thoughts and to receive and download and understand what the other person is communicating as well.
I love
Or
that.
yeah.
Mine is more general. Can I go? Does anybody else want to? Mine is um the acknowledgement of another individual within your space. It doesn't have to be personal space, but the acknowledgement of another individual within your space. And your response to the individual. That's it.
Okay.
It can happen walking down a street in New York as you pass by somebody. Just the way you
Oh,
carry
absolutely.
yourself or something like that. Yeah.
So you're thinking both verbal and nonverbal communication?
Oh yeah. Any kind of, yeah, verbal, nonverbal communication. I mean, it could also be, I mean, I guess written communication as well. Some person's not within your space, but yeah, it's just the acknowledgement of another individual and
Body
letting them
language.
know.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm
Well,
gonna ask
yeah,
Ron
because
too. Oh,
that's why I kind of left it really general with convey, the ability to convey your message, because like you say, it is there are a number of different mediums for that, right? You give somebody the googly eye at the bar and then they know what that means. You could come hither. There's a lot of different ways to communicate. So absolutely, I love the way that you put that, Lizanne, because you specifically, you know um mentioned the nonverbal, and that is, I think, even more noteworthy in a lot of instances than the verbal.
It can be, yeah.
oh, 100%. And even with the nonverbal, there's so much there that we don't even understand unless it's something that we really do look deep into or try to craft that skill. I actually have a gentleman um, that I started watching his videos a couple weeks ago that I found fascinating, and it was all about nonverbal communication. And like he goes into the depth of talking about like you can tell how somebody processes information, like how fast or slow they process information, just by where their eyebrows set. Like there's things like that. Like he goes that in depth, and I thought it was so cool. Um,
Are you
but
Oh,
talking about
McCullum,
Vin Zhang? Are you not talking about Vin Zhang, are you?
no, I followed him on TikTok. I'll have to uh I'll have to let you know who he is, so you could take a look at him. I thought he was pretty cool. I know he's spoken on stage with Go High Level and some of those other platforms and things like that. But he's really big into sales. So that's where he's learned a lot of what he learned as far as communication goes. Um, so yeah, no, he was pretty interesting. I don't know who all here knows Amber McCullum, but her and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and like I even told her about this guy. Because part of our conversation was how most people don't take the time to really understand who they're speaking to, or like really actually pay attention when they're talking to people. A lot of it's more on the psychology end. But Ron, I'm going to ask you, brother, what's your interpretation and take on communication?
Um, I think it's just following, I think Lizane mentioned it, it's following nonverbal cues, right? So I've always been fascinated with the study of body language. And when I was in college, I actually took a minor in psychology just so I can try to read someone better because I was going for a business degree back then. And I felt that was important to know, especially if you're in any kind of situation, you know, how to talk to someone, how to negotiate with someone. You can tell if they're relaxed or, you know, if they've got their arms crossed and it's very tight, then they're closed off. So body language to me is a big cue of communication. And then I think based on how they have that body language, it allows me to kind of pivot and be able to talk to them to get them to either open more, or to, you know, whatever it is that I'm wanting to talk to them about. So I look at body language a lot as nonverbal cues as a form of communication.
I love it. No, you definitely take me more as or remind me more of an analytical type of person. I'm not going to lie, just from the last
Very much so.
conversation that we had as well.
Mhm.
No, I love it. Now, a lot of people I see, one of the biggest things that they're having in their businesses, and this goes for those that have either a partner or other people on their team, is communication. And I don't, was it, I believe it was the last one or it was the week before, I gave everybody that was on the Zoom homework to go and document and pay attention to the way that they're communicating with people and the way that other people are communicating with them. I even told everybody, like, Ron, we talked about it. Every single time I go onto a Zoom, it doesn't matter if it's a personal call, doesn't matter if it's within one of the businesses. I have my Fathom note taker there recording it every single call. And I go back and review all of them because I'm studying how effective that communication is between myself and that other person. And then now I have, you know, those data points that I'm building up to understand how I'm communicating with other people in a similar fashion. And I've got over a year backlog of videos that I take some time here and there to watch. But I gave that homework, and I know we posted and we've asked people like where they think they're having issues with communication. I've even seen it in other group and other conversations that I've had. And one of the top answers that I've seen is, oh, people just don't listen. Oh, they don't listen. And I'll ask them all the time, like, hey, have you been monitoring how you guys are communicating to each other? And well, yeah, it doesn't matter. They just don't listen. Now, what I found, and this is where I was just over a year ago, actually, before I started recording my conversations, was not understanding that there's two different types of communication. And you have surface level communication, and then you have real communication. Now, surface level communication is just the words, you know, mastering the art of the tongue. What most people think is clarity and being clear and articulating what you're saying. And then active listening. Yes, active listening is a skill and something that you do have to build up to it, but it's still just a surface level form of communication. What most people don't spend time on and trying to understand and learn is real communication. Now, real communication is actually built through connection, understanding, and trust. This is why it's so important within your business. And it doesn't matter what your business is. Doesn't matter if you're wholesaling, doesn't matter if you're property acquisitions, it doesn't matter if you own a beauty salon. Real communication is important and it's key. Now there's four fundamentals to real communication. The first one's comprehension. And as Rob has said, it's listening to understand. It's not active listening and just to react to what the other person is saying. It's really trying to understand where they're coming from, being able to put yourself in their shoes, which is actually one of the contextual channels I did touch on. John Maxwell does, and it's the relational context. Now, for those that don't know about the contextual channels, John Maxwell gave 9 of them, and I owe you guys a post breaking those down. And he says, in order to make any big decision in your business, you need to have as much context as possible in as many of those 9 channels. Now, relational context is one of the important ones that he highlighted, and that's context from the other person's perspective. It's the why behind the what. So if you can comprehend, like, why are they raising their voice at the moment? Why are they so excited at the moment? You know, what's got them in that, I don't want to say situation, what's got them in that mood right now? So you definitely want to be able to comprehend what they're saying. Now, there has to be some alignment with you guys as well. Last Zoom, I did mention on coming up with terms and phrases that you guys know exactly what that means. The example that I had used at that time was, I love you guys. My team, we all say it every single meeting at the end of the meeting. And if one person doesn't say it, then we know that they probably didn't grasp something within the meeting or within that meeting. Or there's still something that they didn't understand. So when most people would hear I love you guys, it can be a buzzword for some, even most. We know it as we're all on the same page, we're all moving forward. That's what that word means. So we have a lining there. Understanding. This is going behind the words. You want the intent and the emotion and the motivation behind what's being communicated. Lizane, I'm going to pick on you real quick.
You are so right.
Okay,
Did you have
well,
any?
you're taking notes in the chat, so.
Did you have any questions up in this till this point? So I start moving forward.
How smart are you?
Oh, about comprehension, the why behind the what?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. Words and contracts and corruption and all that.
I don't
Sorry
think,
about that.
I think I'm okay with it. I mean, personally, I have a tendency to, it's almost as like comprehend the why behind the what is also giving grace in a way. Does that make any sense? So and when I say giving grace, it's because you have a deeper understanding of what's happening with that individual.
Right.
So that, yeah, so the why, that's the why, you know, the grace, you know, give everybody grace in your conversations, and there's the
Okay.
you know, you have perception, right? Your own personal perception of what's happening. And then there's also like what's actually happening, which is not coming from your perception.
100%. The assumption gap versus the
Right, and perception is
yeah.
emotional. It's based on your experiences, your thoughts, your emotions. So when you're having a conversation with somebody and you think that they, oh my gosh, they just insulted me. That's a perception, right? So, the why is the actual situation of like what they said and what they really meant. So it's trying to look at it without the emotion.
100%. And Rob touched on a good point. I know that he said he's read a lot of books, where when you communicate and when you're trying to talk to somebody, you're doing it in a way where you're trying to solve problems. So if we're not looking at the intent or the reasoning behind why somebody's either speaking a certain way or their mood is a certain way, we're never going to be able to solve the problem that's at hand. It's the same thing with growth and personal development. But I always tell people, like, you can go through as much personal development as you want, but without going through self-healing, you're going to hit a cap. And it's going to be the same thing within your
Mhm.
business, within your partners, or even members on your team. In the moment, you might have solved a problem and a bottleneck that's going on in the business, but if you have no understanding of where your partner, where your team member is coming from with what they said,
Mhm.
chances are this problem is going to continue to repeat itself.
Yeah.
Right. That also goes into trust. Trust is huge. Building trust with your partners, building trust with your team will actually make that comprehension and understanding a little bit easier. Sorry. I'm still trying to get over a lung infection, so my
Ooh.
lungs aren't doing too great today. But trust is important. That's one of those things that even within our business, and this was the whole section that I really, really wanted to bring Jim in and allow you guys to hear from him, how we operate with the trust factor in our business. And that wasn't something it was just given. Like, we've known each other for a while. I've known Jim for almost 2 years, and we've been on a couple of Zooms, and we just recently started working together. So throughout that two years, it was small things that we were not only learning about each other, but through the conversations that we were having, that kind of built up that trust a little bit. And some of it's a little bit easier than you would think. There's things like being consistent, being transparent, following through with commitments that you make with somebody. Those are kind of surface level things that help build trust with the people that are on your team. So if you're sitting in that visionary or that high level integrator position and you want to build trust within the people that are under you. And I believe I talked about this before as well, where I come from a culinary background. So when I moved up a rung in management and in leadership, I went to a new location, all new people. The store was in shambles. You know, all of these people were so used to the management that was there, that were so lazy. They didn't do anything. They allowed everything to just go the way that it went. So I had two options, and I'm so glad that I listened to the advice of one of the other higher up managers in the company at the time. He was like, "Hey, when you go in there, don't make changes right away. I know you know how to fix it. I know you know what to do, but don't make changes right away. Give it a couple weeks and learn the people." And that's exactly what I did. Instead of giving it a couple weeks, though, I gave it a couple months. I made sure that I worked with them. I was on their stations with them. Cleaning projects, I was doing it with them. I was including some of them in some of the higher up tasks, inventory, things like that. You know, I I don't like to use the term throwing the bones, but throwing them some bones. Like, hey, you are important here. So building that up. But I always showed up on time. I always made sure that we were never out of stock. That it was something that they were used to for years, where they had 86, could discard things off the menu consistently because they were always out of the ingredients. Yeah. Cleanliness was a problem. There were people that didn't want to clean up after themselves. There were big disputes between front of the house and back of the house. Now, these are all things that I had to take a couple months to sit back and like kind of watch, understand, figure out where front of the house is coming from, where back of the house is coming from, but then figure out where each individual is coming from. Like, why don't they want to do anything? Why do they hate it here? But over that period of time of actually listening, actually being there with them, being consistent. I mean, transparency, that was huge too. Most people don't think about that. Like when we go into entrepreneurship and want to be like the big boss, the big guy, one of the things that you learn even in corporate America is like never disclose how much you make. Don't do this, don't do that, don't talk about money. Never don't tell them that we're having this meeting coming up and we might end up having to do this. Oh no, my team knew everything. They knew everything. And that's how, just by going through all of that, is how I turned an entire restaurant staff from hating management, hating anybody up in the higher levels of corporate to, man, if I asked somebody to jump off the top of the walk-in, they'd probably do it, no questions asked. They probably wouldn't even say, all right, they just start climbing the ladder up there. We actually had the CEO come in one time and they needed somebody at another store. And the staff like kept telling him, no, I'm not going. And he came to me because you need to go tell Keith that he's got to go to the Portland location. I was like, Keith, you want to go to Portland? He said, no. I looked at the CEO. I was like, no, I'm sorry. He doesn't want to go. Sorry, it was a long-winded story. But building that trust is very important for being able to move through the next channels of communication with your team, with your partners. Now, with the trust and even with the transparency comes vulnerability. Now, this is something even I struggled with for a very long time. A lot of people actually struggle with it because nobody wants to let anybody know when they're going through hard times when it seems like nobody else is. For the longest, and the reason I took an 8-year hiatus from social media before I started getting back, not getting back into, but getting into real estate, becoming an entrepreneur and starting to put myself out there more. You wouldn't have seen me on Facebook because my whole thing was like, I don't want the rest of the world to know what I'm doing. Nowadays, I'm like, dude, the rest of the world needs to know what I'm doing. They need to know what all of the other people that are with me are doing. They need to know what everybody that's showing up into these Zooms and the questions that they're asking and the things that they're trying to learn. Everybody needs to know that. Within our team, even so, like they call them the hard conversations, but we consistently have conversations when there's issues when somebody's having a personal issue in their life or in their family or with close friends of theirs. We discuss it as a group. We all talk about it. But it also gives the opportunity for the rest of us to help that person that's going through it change their mind around a little bit, look at things a little bit differently, make better decisions, and continue to grow.
I think
Nate
you can
made it in.
scare people off sometimes with that as well, but those are
Oh,
not
yeah.
the people that you want to stick around anyway.
Yeah.
If you can't disclose that you're having something happening that's affecting your your ability to work that day, or, you know, to think clearly, or, you know, whatever, you know, then
Yeah. No, 100%. And even sitting in like our positions, you know, those people that are leading a business, we're leading people, not only the people that are next to us, but people that are under us in our business, we're leading them. I want to know why, like, you're not working like you were yesterday, today. I definitely want to know why. You know, I need, as a business owner, I need to know, like, hey, is this going to be the rest of this week? Is it going to be the rest of this month? Or are you like halfway out of the business? Like, what's going on? Talk to
Mhm.
me. Let me know. Because if they come to me and they tell me, like, hey, I'm having financial issues right now. Okay, great. Now everything aligns with everything that we're doing. Now let's go have a further discussion with everybody else and figure out how we can start taking care of that for you. Like, what does that mean? Do we have to up the amount of lenders that Jeff's talking to so that we can get through deals faster? Or do we have to bring on another underwriter so we can get through the ones piling up faster so we can take deals down so we can make sure that everybody's getting paid so that your family's taken care of? Like, what do we need to do to solve those problems? But we can't have that conversation without somebody opening up and letting us know what's going on the day to day. And that's where we sit in the assumption gap. If we don't talk about it, I think one, either, dude, you're having a really bad day, or like you're halfway out of the business. Am I going to have to start looking for somebody else? Am I going to start wasting my time now going and trying to find somebody to fill that spot? And then if we find out you're not leaving, I just waste a bunch of time trying to find a replacement.
Mhm.
Now, it also starts creating resentments within your business and within the people in your business. Now, I know a lot of people don't, myself included, for the longest, like I never understood that. Resentment, I always felt like it was somebody acted a certain way, therefore, like, meh, or I know that somebody acted a certain way and they were able to step up and I wasn't. Now I resent them for that. Or like, this situation's happening in my life because that person did something to add to what's going on. And that was resentment. No. Resentment is nothing but everything that lies within the assumption gap.
And the assumption gap only exists because of lack of
Lack of a,
comprehension.
yeah, a lack of a middle ground establishment.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a
Now,
really similar conversation about all of this with my partner. He, like, the last like couple weeks, now on top of the holidays and stuff, I get it. But at the same time, his grandma's freaking dying. So like, he wouldn't tell me for like a week straight. I'm like, dude, I don't care what it is. I need you to tell me what's going on. Like, if my grandma was dying, I'd be like the first one to tell you. So it's like, now at the same time, he's about 5 years younger than me. So we got some things to work on, but still, we got a big mission and I expect some communication that, just it
yeah,
meets the business
hey,
requirements basically to get things
that
done,
could, yeah, and that could be one of those situations, and I can't say 100% sure because I still haven't met your partner yet. But hey, maybe he's one of those people that like, hey, I don't want to put my problems on other people,
Yeah,
and therefore something like that is like a problem or a burden that he doesn't want to unload on you.
yeah. And
I let him, yeah,
he did come out and say that, but it's like I just need to know what's going on. I won't let it affect me. I will make sure it won't affect him as much and like support him and this and that. But it just has to be communicated one way or another.
yeah. So you
So
guys have to work a little bit more on the trust factor
yeah,
that you have going on between you guys and in your business. I can actually give you an exercise that we're implementing even within our team, and it's a clarity break.
Okay.
Now you do this as an individual, and then you bring it back and you go over it with your partner and or partners or the people in your business. But you take anywhere from a half an hour to 2 hours and you schedule this. You can do it once a week, you can do it twice a month, you can do it monthly. I would never go longer than a month without doing it. But schedule half an hour to 2 hours to where you can find yourself a nice quiet place, no phone, no computer, nothing, just a notebook. And you're going to reflect. If you're doing it weekly, you're going to reflect on the last week. If you're doing it bi-weekly, reflect on the last two. And if you're doing a monthly, reflect on the last month.
Okay.
And you're going to jot some things down. What are some insights from the last week that you had? What are some problems that you've had in the last week? What are some things that you can do to solve those problems? What are some ways that you might need help to solve those problems? And then when you're done and you have all of that, you go to your partner, you guys schedule a meeting and you go over it. You may have had insights that can be beneficial to your partner or vice versa. You might find that you and your partner may have had the same problem last week that you're trying to figure out. They have common ground and something to work on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for yourself if you want to be doing your reviews. I know a lot of people that do they redo their schedule quarterly, or they'll do a reflection and a review either every quarter. I just did a big one for my yearly review, and I reflected on a lot of things. I reflected on the people that I spent my time with. I reflected on the things that I spent my time on. Everything in between. Redid my entire schedule. I literally cleaned the dry erase, went through it, and then I'm doing Maxwell's 7-day challenge. So the first day was prioritize family time. And that's the first thing I did on my calendar. I broke my days up into two halves, and then I X'd off halves of days, and that's family time prioritized. Then go in the meetings, and then goes in everything else. That went a little bit sideways there for the point, so I apologize. But I can even get the worksheet together for all of you guys too, because I did create a worksheet for the rest of the team and guide for the clarity breaks. Very useful tool in building trust with each other.
That would be cool. We could share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially as I go through all this, like I am starting to put together a lot of the resources and everything as I'm freshly going through a lot of it again. But and always remember too, guys, like even with very strong fundamentals in communication fails when alignment is missing. Fails when alignment's missing. Does anybody know what I mean?
You guys are not on the same page.
Surface level answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the
Well, if
goal
you've
is
got different destinations, then yeah, you're not going to agree on how to get there because you don't even agree on where there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically like having the knowledge to steer the ship to guide them.
So here's the fun part of this whole process that we're going through. I'll let Jim expand on more too. I know he's going to come on one of these Thursdays and we'll figure out what we'll talk about, but I'm going to have him talking a little bit so you guys can see from somebody else in my business, like what we have going on and what we're going through as well. The fun thing is we're right now collecting data from everybody on the team, partners included, and I'm making them, you can ask Haley. I've probably had what, 2, 3 forms by now that I had everybody else fill out from their own perspective. And we're all going to sit down and we're going to go through it. Now, there are going to be differences between everybody and what their goals are, what their motivations are, what their values are. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine to a point. You know, the whole reason that I'm having them, or everybody, myself included, because I'm filling these out too, we're comparing all of the data together, is we're going to sit down and we're going to go over everybody's goals and we're going to see where's the alignment in our personal goals. Once we find the alignment, that is now our business goal. So our business goal isn't my goals. It's not Haley's goals. It's not Jeff's goals. It's not Jim's goals. We found a common ground between all of our personal goals and made that the mission statement for the business. Motivation. It's the same thing. Jim, you and I might have 2 completely different things that motivate us, but our motivation levels might be the same. You know, we could be working together and both of us busting our asses 18 hours a day, you know, just getting things done and hammering through stuff. And we might have 2 different motivators. But that's fine. Because somewhere along the way, they do end up aligning if the goals are there. Same thing with values. Values are huge. And that's actually, Haley's getting ready to get a sneak peek because this is an exercise that I'm going to be having them to go through too so that we can come up with our company values, is have each person on your team list 3 people that they idolize, 3 people that they allow to influence them, and then write down the values in that person that cause them to follow them. Like, what are the 3 values? If it's Tony Robbins, what are the 3 values that Tony Robbins has that makes you want to watch it, you know, watch his stuff and listen to what he has to say? Then you bring those back. You get that whole list, and then you go through it, and you're going to notice duplicates in there. That's how you're going to start narrowing down your business values. Start with the duplicates, move that into a list. Now you're going to take those duplicates, and if there's more than 3, you're going to slash it down. You're going to slash out anything that has any similarities with another value.
How do your visionaries feel about all these forms? I'm looking at Haley. Haley's like lots of forms.
I mean, they're not creating them, so.
There are a lot, but I know that it's important and I see the vision with it. I'm just glad that I'm not creating all of it and I'm just giving my input.
Right. I'd be like, oh, another form. Oh, no forms.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Funny.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's I don't think most people realize or understand how intense it is, especially in the beginning when you're redeveloping your business processes and systems and trying to put all of that together. Now, what's funny about the whole situation, I say it's funny at least, is when I had everybody fill out the form to figure out what our business culture is, because you don't determine your business culture. You don't. Your processes and structures and your people determine your business culture. What I thought was very interesting was what I thought when I learned more in depth about that, the first thing that my mind pointed to was exactly the results that came back from the other people filling out this form. And I'll tell you, our business culture is called the happy accident or the fluffy culture, because we had holes in our systems and our processes, but we all aligned in core values. We all aligned in core values. We all aligned in communication. We all aligned in work ethic. We all aligned in big vision goals. And it's great because putting that together and figuring that out, it's making it a heck of a lot easier for us to be able to figure out our 10-year target, our 3-year picture, and our 90-day game plan. But for the systems and processes, I have to build forms to make them fill it out.
Clarify, are these forms like sheet of paper? Are you doing typeset forms?
I'm building them on Google Forms. It's the easiest way.
Okay.
Because I have everything come back to the team drive. Again, this is where transparency comes into as well. They all can
Right.
see the results. So it's not like I'm sending it to them individually and like, don't look at anybody else's answers. They can all go in and check it at any point.
Yeah, I brought that up because the style of the form can make a difference in how people respond to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
they're still not going to enjoy filling out forms, but it can make it a little bit better depending on how it's set up.
Yeah.
What format.
I tried to do small things like break it up into sections. So like where there's an intentionality section and then an emotional section, they'll be 2 separate so they can go through like 10 questions here and then boom, if they want to take a quick break and then come back and then hit next to go to the next section and start filling it out, then you don't have that one run on. I hate run on forms. But yeah, I'll open it up for you guys for some questions that you guys may have. And we'll leave it there for today's Zoom. I can start picking on you guys if you want.
Well, I mean, you and Lizane are a little bit further along than me in terms of having already had partnerships structured, you know what I mean, to go through. And so what I'm appreciating about it is the fact that I am now in that stage of filtering through these intentional uh, networking and nurturing of relationships, how to start off on the right foot, you know, what qualities to look for. That the continuous learning is so, important. Are
Oh
you
yeah.
are you a lifetime learner? And so I love the approach of having everyone's common goals be intertwined, because I know that's one thing that Jesse talks about a lot too. Like, your goal as the visionary has to be big enough to encompass the goals of everyone in your business. And you guys are doing just that, right? You're making sure that you're understanding not just the directive, but where one another is coming from, and you're pivoting with purpose, and growing together, essentially. you know?
Oh, 100%. And what you said right there is very important as well. Continuous learning. I don't look at it as just continuous learning. When I speak about it with the team, it's actually continuous learning and development. And one of the big conversations that we all just had in our last meeting was exactly that. It's like, hey, we need to continue developing personally. We need to continue developing in the business sense, like all around, but we need to do that together.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's huge because then it again, and I go back to talking about how important trust is. Like being able to go through all of this in real time with a team and building all of it out, it gets to the point to where like take property acquisitions for example. Um, we had quite a few that on the surface level, me looking at it, which I've talked about before, and anybody that knows me knows that I dislike analyzing properties. Even though I'm an integrator, even though I deal with numbers and sheets all day long, I can't stand being deep analyzing a property at all. So when I go in and maybe a wholesaler reaches out to me to check on a property or anything, and I'm like, "Hey Jim, um, are we good with this property?" And he goes, "No, it's a no go. Um, it doesn't meet the criteria on this." And then once in the beginning, he would start explaining further. I'm like, "Nope, dude, nope, nope. I
Right. I
don't
don't
need
need to
further
know.
explanation.
Hmm.
If you tell me it's not good and you tell me it's not good because of this reason, that's all I need."
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, this property that we just bought, um, man, talk about a whole unique situation. First of all, we didn't even plan on buying any cash deals at all for a while. Now, acquiring this property, none of us knew about it until EMD was submitted and paperwork was signed.
Okay. How
Because of
so?
the level of trust that we have in the business,
Okay.
Jim did the deep dive on the property, went submitted EMD, texted us immediately and says, "Hey guys, we bought a property or we're buying a property." Um, and he went through like, "Sorry, I didn't get to talk to you guys sooner. This was, time of the essence, this, that, and the third." I'm like, "Dude, I trust you.
That's the level. That's the
Like
level that we
you
all
make a
attain.
decision, dude. Yeah. You make a decision, that's the decision we go with." And it's the same across the board.
That's the kind of activity where, like, you and the family can go on vacation and stuff, and then you come back and you find out the bank account's bigger because you've got a team that you can rely on. Everyone understands the SOPs and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, the importance of starting that with the partnership level is because this is the way we want the rest of the team to operate as we're building it out. Like the operations manager, the underwriting department, because we split all of that off. They're separate departments. Those people that we bring in that like are doing the stuff in that department, our goal is to push them into a leadership position to head that department, which means we want them to operate the same way we are right now. Again, another reason why
What are all your
transparency is very
department?
important.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. So we have operations, we have marketing, we don't have a sales department. We actually changed that to a business relations department. So
Okay.
operations, business relations, marketing, and underwriting is its own department because that in and of itself is a full-time job. And that's one of those things too, is it looks different for different businesses. Like
Right.
I tell people all the time, there's no one true tribe way. There's no one true tribe way to do anything. Your business might look different than mine. Um, who knows? You might right out of the bat be going over commercial or going after commercial properties. So your systems are going to look a little bit different than mine are. Now it's the same lower level as it is top level. I get people all the time that ask me like, "Hey, what's the best CRM?" to use. I don't know. What are you doing in your business? Like, what are you trying to do? What do you need? What do you need them to do?
Mhm.
If you don't have clarity on that, you shouldn't be messing around with systems.
I have to schedule time with you because I mean, off of this subject, I'm having difficulty because I'm looking for either a team or, you know, a partner. And I don't know how to explain what my skills, what I bring to the
Yeah, I
table.
would love to deep dive that with you a little bit.
Yeah, so I need to figure out, like, how do I explain what I can do? I have no idea. I don't know.
No, not a problem. Yeah, let's I'll reach out to you and we'll get something on the schedule.
Okay.
And I know I apologize, Naomi, that went a little bit off um into a rant, but I hope that did kind of put a little bit more fuel in there for you.
Absolutely. You know, we learn from our own mistakes, but it's wisdom when we can learn from the mistakes of others. So I appreciate your transparency, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
and Lizane, you as well, because you know they say you're not a real entrepreneur until you've at least hung your head one time in your hands and you're like, what the heck do I do next? Right? You got to break your business a few times and
A
Yep.
few times, more than, oh yeah,
Yeah,
a few
you're gonna be
times.
breaking it a lot.
a lot of
Mm,
times.
yeah.
And
Yep.
if you don't, I mean, for me, it's just keep going. Just keep going.
Yep.
Just keep going. Like, you know, all right, I
Yeah.
learned that. Just keep going. And now I learned that. Just keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
It's
if
like,
it was
And
easy,
it's
everybody would do it, for one. If it was easy,
mhm.
everybody would do it. And then, you know, also too, we understand the ebb and flow of entrepreneurship. So you embrace the suck. You know that when you feel uncomfortable, you're growing, you're expanding beyond where you were. You know, it's good to look in the review and say, wow, a year ago I was a completely different person.
100%.
Oh
That's
yeah.
the best part about all of it is,
Mhm.
they all tell you that you need to become the person that you want to be. Um, it hits different when you get there and you kind of look behind and like, wow, I did
Absolutely.
that. I was doing things like that 3 months ago. Like, what was I
Mhm.
thinking? But yes, transparency. See, I pride myself on transparency. Like, that, yeah, I'll tell anybody anything. I pride myself on that. Um,
Now, did you say in the beginning that there were like 9 different, it was 9 different, I forget the word.
Contextual channels.
Yes, channels. Did you name all
Yep,
the channels?
I did not.
Okay.
But I can throw them together and get them in the group. I think I did mention about putting it up and I slacked, so I apologize for that.
No,
But I'll get them into the group so that
that
you guys can see it. um, but then yeah, same thing too, Naomi, with the whole thing with leading with or through transparency and all of that as well. Not only do you guys get to see like, hey, shit, James is actually going through that shit right now, and him or his team were able to figure it out and like fix it. So yeah, I should probably try that. But at the same time, like I won't ever. I'll recommend books once in a while, but I won't just like flat out tell you like, hey, go read a book so you can learn this. Everything that I try to bring back, and we talked about it last week, like even with communication. That's why I brought up how I record all of my calls. I didn't read books to learn communication. I recorded calls. I did watch people's videos on YouTube and TikTok and try to learn a couple things, but most of your learning is going to be in the action because you can only consume content so much.
Mhm.
So if, hey, if I'm out there and I'm taking the action and I'm screwing up and you guys get to watch it and you guys get to learn from that, that's fine by me at the end of the day.
Well, that's what's up. We appreciate your candor.
Apologize. Um, Amato, yeah, brother, go ahead and post in the group, man. See, are you still
Yes,
in here, Amato?
James, I just added
Oh,
Arnolfo. I got his number.
okay.
I'll just put my number too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what the group's there for. I definitely want you guys like talking to each other, reaching out. But at the same time, be very intentional when you're reaching out to each other as well. All right. Let's see. Ron, let's hear from you one last time, brother, before we head on out. Is there anything that you wish that I would expand it on a little bit more, or anything that was left open to question?
I can only speak for myself, and that I can appreciate your thoughts and insights when it comes to communication and bringing other your teammates together and making sure you create that environment where everyone's on the same page. It doesn't need like constant talking to, and I know that that is always going to be somewhat of a work in progress. But for someone like myself, you know, that's starting out, I am a team of one. So I'm
Right,
still, you know, trying to build that my own platform in a sense, right? That own human platform. So I
right.
actually have somewhat of an interview next week with someone that can hopefully fill the spot of like an ops manager position.
Okay. Dude, awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I've known her for quite some time, and she's very motivated to do something else than other than what she's currently doing. So um, she knows my business. She knows what I've been doing. She's seen the things, you know, with her own eyes of what I'm capable of, and my own drive and passion for what I'm building. So, and she wants to be
Right.
a part of that. And I'm super excited about it. So hopefully 2025 will continue to bring more of those into play as
Hey,
I'm
hey, I
also,
don't like the word hopefully.
oh, sorry.
2025
You're right.
will.
You're right. It will bring more. Thank you for catching me on that.
Hey, no problem. Dude, I love it. I love that you're taking the action steps and doing that. You know, I know we got to speak not that long ago as well. So it actually makes me very happy that you came in here tonight and you're like, hey, I have a conversation next week with somebody that might be my ops manager.
Yeah. No,
That is awesome. Let me know what you need
yeah,
for support, and I know we have a call
definitely.
tomorrow.
Definitely. Yep.
Who else? Is it? I don't want to pronounce it wrong, so I apologize. Arnolfo, how we doing, brother?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself, brother? Yeah, it's out of Newful, but you can call me Arnie for short.
Okay. As yeah, I didn't catch you in at the beginning. I don't know if you called the whole thing. But was there anything that I left open that you might have more questions on, or you wish I would have touched a little bit further?
No, I think everything was pretty good. I like the building trust part. I think that's and I think Noemi touched on it very, very, very good. That and to build that trust between partners or teams is very essential. I think uh, just like you gave the example of somebody gave the example of being away for a while and then coming back and knowing that you know a deal went through and then your portion comes in. It's like you're on vacation, you know, just to know that everybody's on the same frequency. Very, very important. And it is something that, yeah, some people can find right away, and sometimes it's something that takes a while to find that harmony between, a couple people to not only make money, but to help people too, right? To be on the same wavelength.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, I'll never tell anybody it's something that that'll happen right away or instantaneously either. Um, yeah, actually, a lot of people would probably be surprised if I told you that, hey, you might be able to implement somebody into your business that you've known for a while that isn't even in any real estate communities or anything like that. Um, actually, one of the people that we're talking about bringing in as a deep dive underwriter has zero real estate knowledge or experience, and it just happens to be one of my mother's friends that lives with her down in Connecticut, who has a little bit of IT and tech background. But we're going to jump on a Zoom, and because there are some things there that can align, we've known him for a while. It's like, hey, let's see how this works out. And if it does, we have another person on the team who didn't come from another community or anything like that. Opportunity is everywhere. And a motto.
Hey, James, thank you. I've been listening to you. I like when you said John Maxwell. I read this book, and you always you mentioned about the trust. Something that I learned from my mentor. He said, let me ask you. He told me, let me ask you something. Uh, which one is more important, likability or trust? And then most people say trust, but my mentor said that, you know what, trust takes time, but likability makes time. So you have to be likable first.
That is true.
Yeah.
How are you doing, man? It's been a long time since we spoke.
It's been a long time. Me and my wife have been investing for many years now. And I love sharing what we experienced. We just did some 1031 exchange this past few months. And I'd like to know more about the attendees. We are from California. I don't know who's here from California. Like to meet them in person.
I don't know if we have any Californias out there, but hey, one of my partners is out there in California. I'll see if we can get you guys linked up.
Yeah. And most people here, like, from which state?
Typically all over. I know I'm in southern New Hampshire.
Anyone in Georgia, Ohio, Arizona?
I'm actually in Gary, Indiana, hometown of the Jackson Five, Michael Jackson, and a ton of other people. A city with rich, rich history. We can see the Chicago skyline from our lakefront, and yeah, a lot of good things brewing under the surface. Doesn't look good on paper,
I
to
feel
the
like I'm the
outside
only one
investor.
that's old enough to know the song Gary, Indiana. Does anybody else know it? Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana.
I don't know the
Tim, you
song.
know it?
The
I
Music
don't.
Man.
I'm originally from
Yes!
Chicago. Ooh, the Music Man. Somebody tell me.
From the Music Man, yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Out here trying to rebuild a city. So rich with opportunity.
I think everybody's typing in the chat. Amado?
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
see Arizona,
from.
Texas. Yeah, I've been to Texas, I've been to Arizona. Because me and my wife we paid a lot of money for education in real estate. And well, we learned, ups and downs, but at the end of all, there's a win, lose, but more and there's still positive.
Right.
Just put that way, yeah.
Well, the lessons are always wins. The losses are wins, right? Because you have a big lesson that you learned in it to carry you forward.
Yes. It makes me stronger and better when you you know, before we just buy a property, and then remember the 2008 crash. We just did the uh, we sold some property. Uh, my wife said damage control, so we did the damage control, and then when the market goes back up, then we recover. We have some
Now,
property in Ohio and Georgia. We
we're on Ohio.
we have Maple Heights, Cleveland, and yeah.
Okay. We just the one that we just closed on that we're basically doing something similar to the Burr method is right there in Cleveland. So we're actually we want to expand the portfolio out there. Or Amato, real quick, are you still doing the life insurance?
Life insurance, that's here's the thing. Two industry that you and I, all of us here, I think we have to be good: real estate and finance.
Yeah.
Because once we accumulated this money from real estate, the question is now, how are we going to preserve it?
Yeah.
You want to leave that legacy, the dynasty trust, those stuff. And some of the actually successful real estate investor like Grant Cardone, Chris Crone, Warren Buffett, they leverage insurance. Why not do it too? Right?
I actually have somebody for you to talk to. Miri Cordaro, if you haven't met her yet, she passed the test. I think it was less than a year ago. So she's working through all the kinks of doing all of that. I feel like you and her will get along very well.
Yes, because a lot of real estate investor, they see the value of insurance. It's like you have money there, you borrow against it as if you didn't take it out, and it's still growing for you.
Yep.
That's powerful.
No, it is. Yeah, I'll try to get you and her connected. I feel like I said, I feel like you and her could have a really good conversation. Uh, she's in the process of starting her business up right now on the life insurance side.
What's her name exactly, James?
Miri Cordaro.
Miri.
Yes, she posted in the systems group as well last week. I actually jumped on a podcast with her and her partner, and we're going to do a part 2 sometime this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I appreciate everybody's time, especially always sticking on a little bit over. I know sometimes these definitely do go a little over. But if there's no other questions for today, go ahead and, same as always, go ahead and go post in the group. If you guys are still looking for people to connect with, be very intentional and mention who you're trying to connect with. And then even more so, I'm going to do something now. I'm going to let you guys accumulatively pick the topic for next week. So go ahead and get in there and, kind of let me know what areas that you guys would like me to expand on. And, I'll take that common one and that'll be what we'll head into next week with.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate this Zoom, dropping the nuggets and things. And for people like me, helping us to know what to look for going in,
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having it.
But yeah, don't forget, guys, go ahead and get those posts in there and what you guys would like to see for a topic. Hopefully if you guys pick one that aligns, I'll be able to get Jim on here next week. I would like to get the team coming into some of these Zooms so you guys get to talk to them, hear from them a little bit as well. No. Absolutely, Tim. As long as you guys show up, I'll be here. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for lending me an hour and 15 minutes of your time on a Thursday evening. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week and into the weekend.
Thank you.
Good
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Good
Have a good
night.
evening.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.